When my husband turned 35, he asked the emperor for permission to retire from military service. He was the grand general who defended the nation with countless military achievements. When the emperor asked what reward he wanted, he knelt down with all his military merits and pleaded, "I beg your majesty to grant my child, who has been living outside, a legitimate status. Fu Chengen and I had been a loving couple for over a decade." Back then, the imperial physician said I could hardly bear children, yet he never minded. He even secretly took a sterilization medicine himself, saying he would rather have no heirs forever than let the princess feel even the slightest heartache. No, what he said at the banquet has made me the biggest laughingstock in the nation. Only then did I realize that his love for me over these 10+ years was all fake. What was real was him having children with his mistress. Fu Chengen wanted to get a legitimate status for his illegitimate child, roasting me, his lawful wife, over the fire. But he forgot I am a princess of this dynasty. His honor and wealth were nothing but gifts I bestowed upon him. The emperor looked at Fu Chengen kneeling on the ground, his face dark as water, saying nothing, until Fu Chengen's back was drenched in cold sweat. In the end, he only said lightly, "This is a family matter between you and my imperial sister. Let's discuss it after the banquet ends." The reward was gone, and the joy on Fu Chengen's face turned into terror. Meanwhile, all the ministers and noble ladies in the hall looked at me as if I were some huge joke. I am Princess Jiahi. I've been married to Fu Chengen for over 10 years, and we've always been a loving couple. Even though I've never been able to bear children, Fu Chengen has never uttered a single complaint. He even asked the imperial physician for a sterilization medicine when the doctor said my health was poor and I'd have difficulty conceiving. That day, he swore, I'd rather have no heirs than risk losing Shuer. Shuer is my life. I can't let anything happen to her. Word of his words and actions spread, and many sighed that Princess Jiahi, his consort, was so devoted. Some even composed poems and wrote stories about him because of this. But now, he is telling me that he already has a child, and he wants the child to be acknowledged by the family and registered under my name. When I returned to the princess's residence, before I could even sit down, Fu Chengen stammered, "Shu Yun. Chungyang is outside the residence with Anner. They want to see you." Before I could say anything, he quickly added, "I know you won't make things difficult for them, mother and son. Can we have the servants bring them in?" As soon as he finished speaking, my personal nanny hurried in. "Princess, that woman is standing at the gate with the child. She says she wants to see the princess, but refuses to come in. A crowd has already gathered outside the residence." The moment Fu Chengen heard this, he rushed out immediately. "Chongyang, why must you do this?" He looked at the frail woman standing at the gate, his eyes full of heartache. The woman named Chongyang stood before the manor with a child. She was gentle and lovely, with delicate skin, looking several years younger than me. Even as a princess, I didn't appear as tender as her. Presumably, Fu Chengen had doted on her greatly these past 10-some years. Besides financial support, there must have been a lot of love too, for a woman to be so carefree and radiant. The moment Chongyang saw me, she fell to her knees with a thud. "I beg the princess to give Anner a legitimate status. He is my husband's own flesh and blood. Whether I can enter the manor doesn't matter. Whether I have a status doesn't matter either. I only ask the princess, for my husband's sake, to let Anner be acknowledged by the family." After speaking, she kowtowed heavily, her forehead hitting the ground with a thunk. Both men before her were pained beyond endurance. Fu Chengen spoke with difficulty Shu Yun. "All the wrongs are my fault. Back then at the brothel, I was drugged by someone. Chunyoung had no choice but to save me with her body. Otherwise, I would have fallen into someone else's trap. Chunyoung didn't ask me to buy her freedom. It was only later when she became pregnant that she had no choice but to come find me, because the madam at Baiwa House wanted her to take clients. She could only come beg me, seeing how pitiful she was, and that she had once saved me. I helped buy her freedom and got her a small courtyard to live in. All these years, Chunyoung has never asked for anything, not status, not money. She has just been quietly raising the child. Now the child is grown and shouldn't be called a bastard anymore. I beg the princess to take pity on her helplessness and let her and the child enter the residence. I laughed mockingly. She is helpless. Doesn't she have you as her husband all along? Chuangyang said in a delicate voice. Please calm your anger, princess. The prince consort only has you in his heart. It was I who was presumptuous. I couldn't bear to see the child unable to meet his father, so I begged desperately and finally got the chance for the child to see his father once a month. All these years, the prince consort only sees Anner once a month and has never lingered with me for even a moment. You are the only one in his heart and eyes, if not for the child growing up and needing to study for the imperial examinations. I would never have come to disturb the princess's peace. Anner is clever. The tutor says he can take the imperial examinations in a couple of years, but he doesn't have a legitimate birth and cannot acknowledge his own biological father. Your Highness, please. For the sake of all these years, the prince consort has devoted himself to you wholeheartedly. Give this child a way to live. The Fu family's relatives watched clearly from the side and also chimed in to persuade. Princess Cheng'en is well past 40, yet still has no heir. Now that he finally has his own flesh and blood, just acknowledge them. It is perfectly normal for a man to have 3 wives and 4 concubines. Just because you are a princess, does that mean the prince consort isn't allowed to take a concubine? There are 3 forms of unfilial conduct, and having no heir is the greatest. Even a princess should consider the Fu family's lineage. Everyone chimed in one after another, roasting me over the fire, as if I'd be the villain dooming the Fu family to extinction if I didn't agree. The commoners watching the commotion outside were also whispering among themselves, each with their own take. Wasn't it said that the prince consort and the princess were deeply in love, and he even drank an infertility potion for her? How did such a big child suddenly pop up? So I am telling you, you can't trust a single word men say. What is the use of all that love and affection? They still secretly keep mistresses on the side. This woman came from Baiwa House. Oh my, is this child really the prince consort's? Looking at the child's age? They're already in their teens. Is the sterilization drug from the palace that useless? He drank it and still managed to have children with his mistress. Fu Chenggen's face alternated between green and pale. He naturally heard what the common people were saying, and only pleaded with me in a low voice. Shuyin, your reputation is important. Let them into the residence first. Now the affairs of the imperial family's inner chambers had caused a city-wide uproar. I had no choice but to let Fu Chenggen bring the mother and child into the residence first. As soon as he entered the inner courtyard, he fell to his knees before me with a thud. Shuyin, I know it is all my fault, but what is done is done. It is just a matter of adding 2 more pairs of chopsticks. As long as you agree to let them, mother and son, into the residence, I promise I will never let them appear before you. I also promise you I will never see Lady Qiong in private. My body, my heart, belong only to you. I closed my eyes. My heart felt like it was being ripped out and thrown on the ground. The next day, the Empress summoned me into the palace. Looking at my haggard face, she let out a long sigh. Ashu, your imperial brother said that although Fu Chenggen has made military achievements, if he dares to wrong you, he won't let him off either. You've been precious and noble since birth. How could you be humiliated by them? The emperor says, whatever you want to do, just go ahead and do it. Just don't make yourself suffer. I closed my eyes, called out, Imperial sister-in-law, and tears rolled down. Fu Chenggen and I were childhood sweethearts, married for over a decade, and it was all fake. Last night, the side courtyard of the princess's residence was brightly lit. Fu Chenggen personally welcomed Chongyang and her son into the back courtyard and opened the storerooms. Things flowed like water into Tinghua Pavilion, decorating the courtyard magnificently, even more exquisite and grand than my own chambers. Even when the nanny went to bring me calming medicine, she found the stoves were all occupied, simmering various tonics for Qiangyang. The cook was trembling. It was the prince consort's orders. He even stewed the bird's nest himself. I didn't dare touch anything. Please forgive me, nanny. The nanny came back with her face green with anger. When I heard this, I gave a bitter laugh. It was only the first day she entered the residence, and even my private kitchen could be taken over. One can only imagine how could Chuangyang be just a woman he had a one-night stand with. She must be the one he treasures most in his heart. This is originally my residence. Fu Chenggen dares to push his luck like this, only because over these years of marriage, I loved him and indulged him, spoiling him, until he forgot his own status, forgot that I am the true master here. Nanny warned me long ago that there are distinctions between high and low status, and if I was too lenient with the prince consort, something would go wrong sooner or later. But Fu Chenggen treated me so well, I foolishly thought he would never betray me. As it turns out, I was terribly wrong. I couldn't be bothered to return to the residence to see them, so I simply stayed in the palace for a few days to clear my mind. But when I returned to the princess's residence, I found it packed with guests, with carriages filling the street outside. Kuangyang was dressed in dazzling jewels, not at all like a woman in her 30s. Fu Chenggen held her hand as they toasted guests together, while their son was the host of this banquet. A family of 3, happily holding a kinship recognition banquet in my residence? Fu Chenggen, half drunk, laughed loudly. Today I have already explained to the clan elders and opened the ancestral hall. From now on, Anner will be a legitimate son of the Fu family. His name is Fu Jian. He is my son, Fu Chenggen's son, and also Her Highness's son. When the princess returns, I will petition to have Anner registered under her name. From then on, he will be the princess's legitimate son. I was so angry I laughed. I haven't returned to the residence for a few days, and now I already have a legitimate son. All the guests froze when they saw me, and rose one after another to bow. Greetings to Her Royal Highness the Princess. Your Highness? We received an invitation yesterday saying you would be acknowledging this child as your legitimate son today. So we came specially to offer our congratulations. Indeed, we didn't expect your Highness to be so magnanimous. I looked up at Fu Chenggen, my face cold as ice. I've only been in the palace for a few days, and the princess's manor has already changed owners. Even a son has been picked out. Even if I were to take a concubine, she should at least serve me a cup of concubine's tea. Without proper status, what right does she have to enter the gates of the princess's manor? Fu Chenggen, I never agreed, yet you dare acknowledge a son on my behalf. Just a child born out of wedlock. Your Fu family doesn't care about good or bad, taking in anything and everything, and still wants to call me mother. Does he even deserve it? Ere you saying that in the future, the illegitimate children from your mistresses will also call themselves brothers and sisters with princes and princesses. The patriarch of Fus looked at Fu Chenggen and questioned, Didn't you say the princess had acknowledged this child's status? How come the princess doesn't even know about it? Fu Chenggen looked at me, his eyes full of pleading. Shuyan, let's talk about this after the guests leave. Everyone is here today. Give me some face. Let's not argue now. All right, we can discuss everything after the banquet ends. I gave a cold snort. Ends. You stuff a son on me out of nowhere to become the princess's legitimate son, who will be granted official titles and nobility in the future. Have you even thought about whether he is qualified? Fu Chenggen said sternly, Enough. Shuan, Anner is my own flesh and blood. Even if you are a princess, you are still my wife. Is my son not your child too? How is he not worthy, by your logic? Am I also not worthy to be your husband? He stood across from me, speaking harshly with a stern expression, while Chuangyang and the child hid behind him. Fu Jian comforted softly. Father, don't get so angry that you hurt yourself. You've been fighting wars everywhere, and your health isn't what it used to be. You should take good care of yourself. If you get this angry, how heartbroken would mother be? Chuangyang clung tightly to Fu Chenggen's side, looking at me timidly. Your Highness, I only beg you to give me and Anner a place to stay. We'll never be an eyesore to you. Is even this something the princess is unwilling to grant? He is, after all, my husband's child. Does the princess truly have the heart to watch my husband's bloodline end? If the princess feels wronged and holds resentment toward this concubine, I am willing to die and leave the child behind. As long as the princess accepts Anner, even if you grant me a white silk to hang myself, I'll do so willingly. From then on, Anner will have only you as his mother, and will only serve you as his mother. Would that be all right?" Fujian hugged Kyunyoung tightly, tears in his eyes. "No, mother. If I abandon my mother for my future, what kind of person would I become? Even in death, I will always be with mother." Kyunyoung and Fujian hugged each other, crying their hearts out. Fu Chengen gritted his teeth and glared at me. "Your Highness is truly heartless. Just because you can't bear children, must you be this vicious? Will you not rest until you've driven them, mother and son, to death? Even if you are a princess, you married into my Fu family and are my Fu Chengjin's wife. I am taking a concubine to continue the family line. If you don't agree, that is just jealousy. Even if this goes before His Majesty, there is no reason for him to take your side. Your Highness should think this through. I will definitely have Kyungyang enter this household whether you agree or not." In over a decade of marriage, he had never spoken a harsh word to me. Now that he has turned on me, it is like he has become a different person. I looked at him, then at Kyungyang collapsed on the ground, crying. What a spectacular show. I curled my lips into a smile. "Consort, Kyungyang bore you an heir. It is only right that you marry her." Fu Chenjin looked at me, his face full of relief. "Shuyun, I knew you had the softest heart and would understand me. Don't worry, even if Kyungyang enters the residence, I'll treat you the same as before. The only one I've ever loved and cherished in my heart has always been you." I raised my hand to stop him from continuing. I straightened my back and looked at Kyungyang, whose eyes were full of anticipation with a hint of secret delight, and spoke calmly, "Fu Chengen. From this moment on, our bond as husband and wife is over. From now on, whoever you marry or take as concubine has nothing to do with the princess's residence. I have already requested an imperial decree from His Majesty. I, Li Shuyun, hereby divorce you in front of everyone today." All the guests in the manor were stunned. Fu Cheng'en stammered, "Shuyun, what are you saying? What do you mean divorce? We've been a loving couple for over 10 years, and just because of such a small matter, you want to divorce me. How can you be so temperamental? If word gets out, people will only say you are jealous. How could you ruin your own reputation?" I sneered coldly. "The general need not worry about my reputations. Sorry everyone for coming all this way. The Princess Manor has no banquet to offer, nor any legitimate son to recognize. Please take your gifts and return home." Fu Cheng'en was devastated. Looking at me, his face turned ashen. "Shuyun, why must it come to this? If you really don't want to, we can discuss it further." I stepped back, and the nanny stepped forward, handing over a piece of paper. "Please accept this, General. This is the divorce letter personally written by the princess. The general should also pack up his belongings and move out of the Princess Manor as soon as possible, lest the imperial guards come knocking at your door and delay you in acknowledging your legitimate son and marrying your new wife." All the guests were stunned. The princess was actually divorcing her husband. That is true. Her Highness is of royal blood. No matter how many military merits Fu Cheng'en has, he is merely a subject. Keeping a mistress outside and slapping Her Highness in the face like this, did he really expect Her Highness to live under the same roof as a brothel whore? Back then he drank the sterilization medicine himself. How come now that he has reached middle age, he is starting to regret it? Who knows if the sterilization medicine he drank was real or fake? If it was real, where did this illegitimate son come from? This kind of drama is all over those storybooks. Things like a brothel woman giving herself to save a young master who was drugged, then later being brought into the household after gaining status through her son. There is plenty of that. It seems this mistress is taking exactly that route. Fu Cheng'en came forward trying to grab me. "Shuyun, no. How can you divorce your husband? Could it be that our more than 10 years of marital bond was all fake?" I flung off his hand. "Of course it was fake. Otherwise, where did your mistress come from? And where did this illegitimate child come from? You raised this illegitimate child behind my back until he is this big, and now you want to give him a proper status and give his birth mother a title too. Otherwise, I am the heartless one. Fu Chenggin, I am afraid you've miscalculated. If I were truly heartless, and your concubine and son suddenly died in the residence one day, who would say a word against me? I am setting you free so you can be with your wife and child openly and legitimately. What more could you be dissatisfied about? Fu Chenggin looked at me, his face full of restraint. Enough, Shuyan. Is it that whenever something doesn't go your way, you threaten me with divorce? Chuangyang bore me a child. She has rendered great service. Can she not even be allowed to enter the household as a concubine? Anner is a descendant of the Fu family. Does he not even deserve a proper status? You can't bear children, and I've never said a word of complaint. Chuangyang bore me an heir, yet you make things difficult for her in every way and publicly humiliate her. This is truly intolerable, fine. If you want to divorce me, then do it. Just don't regret it later. The nanny looked at him coldly. General, hurry up and pack your things and leave the residence. Also, those relatives from the Fu family who came to the princess's residence to mooch off, it is time for them to leave too. Those distant aunts staying at Her Highness's villa, please leave together as well. Our princess's villa will be hosting a banquet in 3 days. Don't spoil Her Highness's mood. The Fu family members swarmed up at once, surrounding Fu Chenggin and persuading him. Chenggin, you are now the general who guards the nation. How can you let a woman threaten you? That is right. Even if she is a princess, without your military achievements, could she be living so carefree exactly? Even if you separate from the princess, you are still the general who guards the nation. What is there to fear? The nanny looked at him coldly. General, hurry up and pack your things and leave the residence. Also, those relatives from the Fu family who came to the princess's residence to mooch off, it is time for them to leave too. Those distant aunts staying at Her Highness's villa, please leave together as well. Our princess's villa will be hosting a banquet in 3 days. Don't spoil Her Highness's mood. The Fu family members swarmed up at once, surrounding Fu Chenggin and persuading him. Chenggin, you are now the general who guards the nation. How can you let a princess threaten you? That is right, even if she is a princess, without your military achievements. Could she live so carefree? Exactly, even if you and the princess separate, you are still the nation-guarding general. What is there to fear? Chuangyang tightly tugged at his sleeve, pitifully saying, Husband, whether you are the prince consort or the general, in Chuangyang's heart, you are my everything. I won't leave you no matter what. Fu Chenggin raised his head, looking at me. Shuyan, do you truly have no regrets? He glanced again at the magnificent princess manor, a flash of unwillingness in his eyes. Shuyan, if this goes to court and I don't agree, I am afraid it won't be so easy for you to divorce. No matter how much His Majesty dotes on you, he is still the ruler of all under heaven. How could he overturn the proper order between husband and wife? My smile froze at the corner of my lips, and I coldly looked at him. Fu Chenggin, you forced me to recognize a child of low-born status as legitimate, but that is mixing up the imperial bloodline. If you don't accept this divorce letter, then wait to be charged with a crime. I coldly looked at him, watching his face change dramatically as he snatched the divorce letter. Fine then, from now on, you and I are no longer husband and wife. Our marriages henceforth have nothing to do with each other. Then he pulled Chuangyang and Fu Jian along. Let's pack up and go. The Fu family's clansmen followed along, looking at me coldly. At this age, still divorcing your husband. Do you think you are still a young maiden? Chenggin is a valued minister of the emperor. Could your highness possibly find a better husband than him in the future? Even if there were, it was only for the power of the princess's manor. Fu Chenggin looked utterly indignant as he led the Fu family to start packing things, but unexpectedly they were stopped by my people. What is General Fu trying to do? How can you take these gold and silver wares? These all belong to the princess. From the day Fu Chenggin became the prince consort, I never treated him poorly. I even had a piece of land cleared in the backyard for him to build an ancestral hall where he could place the memorial tablets of the Fu family ancestors. All the ritual objects enshrined inside were extremely precious. Over these dozen years he had grown accustomed to them, so naturally he wanted to take these away too. The nanny said coldly from the side, "General Fu, the things you used to worship your ancestors with, weren't they all kept in that abandoned little courtyard in the backyard? The princess was afraid you'd feel nostalgic and kept them for you. Those were all brought by the Fu family when you married the princess." My personal maidservant stood by, putting on a show of scolding the newly hired maids. "Keep a close eye on all these things. Don't let anyone clueless carry them away. Every single item must be carefully watched with responsibility assigned to each person. Also, many of the princess's dowry items got mixed up and are scattered all over the manor. Watch out for outsiders who've gotten used to using other people's things and might just take them. Hey, this lady here. The hairpin on your head was a tribute from a foreign kingdom. It was imperially bestowed upon the princess by His Majesty. Someone, take that hairpin off her." A quick-witted maid rushed forward and yanked the hairpin from Kyunyoung's hair. She clutched her hair and screamed, "Husband!" The cloud brocade fabric on this young Master Fu is also from the storeroom. "General, this cloud brocade is worth its weight in gold. I am afraid the general will have to pay for it." I watched the inner courtyard descend into chaos. After all the commotion, I saw Chuangyang arguing with the maids. "This is jewelry my husband gave me. How can you take it away?" During the days I stayed in the palace, Fu Chang'en had set up a courtyard for Kyungyang. All her food, clothing, and daily necessities were fine goods from the storeroom, except for occasional gifts from the emperor. Everything else came from the princess's residence. I sat in the courtyard and mocked with a laugh. The general seems to have forgotten the rules. "All my things are from the imperial workshop. Wearing items beyond one's station is a punishable offense. The emperor's gifts, you dare give them away so casually. Summonon, thoroughly check everything General Fu has taken away, so nothing is overlooked." Half a day later, Fu Chang'en left the princess's residence with Kyungyang and her child, along with a few freeloading relatives. Before the marriage, Fu Chang'en had a small residence. But because he became a prince consort enjoying endless glory and wealth, who would remember that little courtyard? Only when they returned did they discover the place was so run down that the roof was leaking. Chuangyang stared blankly at the dilapidated courtyard and said in a daze, "Husband, how did it come to this?" Fu Chenggen comforted her. "Don't worry, I am the general who guards the nation. Tomorrow at court, I'll ask His Majesty to bestow a residence upon us. Don't forget, I have outstanding military achievements. How could His Majesty do without me? This is only temporary. I just need you to tidy up our new home for now. When the new residence is bestowed, I'll definitely host a banquet for the capital's nobles and give you a proper status." Fu Jian also persuaded, "Mother, father's difficulties are only temporary. Now that he has finally gotten rid of the princess and moved out of the princess's residence, our family can be together forever." "What is a little hardship now?" Chuangyang smiled through her tears. "Yes, from now on our family will be together. No matter how hard it is, it doesn't matter." The conversation of their family of 3 was reported back to the princess's residence by someone with ulterior motives. After hearing it, I almost laughed out loud. Fu Chenggen really thinks too highly of himself. Thunder and rain are both imperial grace. If he doesn't respect me, he doesn't respect the royal family. How could my imperial brother let him live in wealth and comfort? Besides, if it weren't for marrying the princess with his mediocre talents, how would he have had the opportunity to achieve merit? So ungrateful, so arrogant about his achievements, he gradually lost his true self. His Majesty knows all this, which is why when rewarding him, he emphasized that he loved his wife and served the princess well. On the surface it was approval, but underneath it was a warning. All these years, if I hadn't balanced things for him, he would have lost imperial favor long ago. Fu Chenggen was immensely pleased with himself, feeling that even though he had left the princess's residence, he could still rely on the title of general who pacifies the nation to secure a place for himself in the capital. Xuangyang had always been pampered by Fu Chenggen and had never done any hard labor. This time, when they left the princess's residence, they didn't bring a single servant. Everything had to be done by themselves. It took several days of tidying up before they finally finished, barely managing to clean up a few rooms that were livable. Chuangyang looked at her hands that had become rough after several days of work, her back and waist aching from exhaustion. She could only cry and say, "Husband, hurry and buy some servants. I really can't take it anymore. I haven't suffered like this in over a decade." Fu Chenjin looked at the little silver they had left and earnestly persuaded Xuangyang, "Bear with it a little longer." When I asked His Majesty to let me retire from military service, His Majesty said he'd think about it for a few days. I've decided to report to His Majesty at court tomorrow. I am still in my prime and can continue serving His Majesty. His Majesty will surely be pleased, and there will definitely be rewards then. Having servants at our beck and call will be a small matter. I'll even get you an imperial title so you can be a proper lady. Who would have thought that on the second day at court, before he could even speak, His Majesty had already issued an edict. "My dear Minister Fu, regarding your request to retire from military service the other day, I've thought it over. You've worked hard all these years, and it is time to let the younger generals gain some experience. Your request is granted. Hand over the military tally to the general of the cavalry shortly, and he will take over your duties. Minister Fu, from this day forward, you shall retire from service and enjoy your remaining years in peace. Court is dismissed." After saying this, he left with several senior ministers to discuss matters in the imperial study. Fu Cheng'en was stunned. Just as he was about to speak, the surrounding ministers crowded around him. "Oh my! General Fu, now you can enjoy wealth and comfort. What good fortune! I heard General Fu is going to marry a new wife. Don't forget to invite us to the wedding feast when the time comes. General Fu, even though you are no longer the prince consort, having a lovely wife and beloved son fulfills your wishes, doesn't it? The princess has been quite tolerant. If it were anyone else, your entire household would have been executed long ago." Fu Cheng'en's face changed drastically, unable to utter a single word. The general of the cavalry looked at him with a beaming expression. "General Fu, let's go. We should handle the military handover now." He walked ahead with an imposing air, looking quite pleased with himself. After Fu Cheng'en finished handing over the military tally and his duties, he left the palace and returned home. As soon as he entered, Chuangyang came to greet him, smiling as she asked, "Husband, what did His Majesty say? Did he bestow a residence and treasures?" Fu Jian also chimed in playfully, "Did he grant mother the title of first-rank noble lady?" But they didn't get a reply from Fu Cheng'en. They only saw him slump into his chair, his face ashen, as he said, "Everything's gone. The Emperor approved my request to retire from military service and made me hand over the military seal." "Now everything's gone," Chuangyang shrieked. "What do you mean everything's gone? So we're going to live in this rundown courtyard from now on?" The few family clan members also cried out in alarm. How could the Emperor approve it? "Tell the Emperor it was all just a joke," Fu Cheng'en said. "The Emperor's authority is absolute. How could he tolerate my joking?" The Fu family members hurriedly advised, "Why don't you go coax the princess again? After all, you've been married for so many years. If you sweet-talk her a bit, she'll definitely change her mind." "That is right. At worst, just tell her that Chuangyang and the child won't enter the Fu family anymore. After all, one's future prospects are more important. As long as you have power and status, Chuangyang and the child can still enjoy a good life. Why bother about these titles? If you have nothing, what is the point of them suffering with you?" "That is right. You can't just watch our whole clan lose their prospects and suffer together." Fu Jian supported his pale-faced mother and retorted, "Uncles. When mother entered the household, you all agreed to it. How can you turn your backs on us now?" The Fu family members looked at them with contempt. "What do you mean we agreed? Your mother has always had no official status. The princess is Cheng'en's legitimate wife. Are you saying he should abandon his legal wife for a mistress? Besides, when your mother was pregnant with you back then, it was indeed dubious and unclear. It is perfectly normal for the princess to have doubts. Exactly, the legitimate son of the Fu family. How could she be the daughter of a prostitute? It wouldn't hold up if word got out." The next day, Fu Cheng'en came to the princess's residence with pastries I liked to eat. When he entered, he saw me lying on a jade couch. surrounded by a crowd of servants, with several eloquent scholars nearby for entertainment. His face turned ugly as he said, "Shuyan, how did you become like this? You even dare to keep male concubines." Everyone looked at him, and I burst out laughing. What, does General Fu still think he is the prince consort? Whether I keep male concubines now has nothing to do with you. Besides, these gentlemen are newly acclaimed scholars in the capital, all from prestigious noble families. Having heard that I appreciate poetry, they came specially to visit today, wanting to introduce me to a poetry society. How is it that in General Fu's eyes everyone is like you, with only matters between men and women on their minds? Upon hearing these words, several people looked at him with strange expressions. His face became awkward, and he placed the pastries in front of me. "Shuyan, I stood in line for an hour this morning and went specially to Baiwei House to buy you lotus cakes. Your favorite, would you like to see if you still like them?" I glanced up and pointed at the desserts on my table. "My cook used to be the head chef at Baiwei House. She can make all the pastries, so there is no need to trouble General Fu." Chengen stepped forward, his face showing a pleading expression. "Shuyan, I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have hurt you for a child. I've thought about it, Chuangyang and that child. I'll give them a sum of money and send them back to their hometown. From then on, we'll have nothing to do with each other. Can we start over?" I laughed out loud. "Fu Chengen, start over with you. Do you deserve it? You are old, with no power or wealth. What would I want from you, your old age or your poverty? I am a princess. When I married you, you became a prince consort. If I don't want you, you are nothing but a pile of mud on the ground. Do you think I can't live without you? Back then, so many people asked my father for my hand in marriage, yet I chose you, a penniless martial arts champion with nothing to your name. Someone like you actually dared to keep a mistress behind my back, and for the sake of an heir, you deceived me for over a decade. Fu Chengen, you truly disgust me. However, I do have a gift to bestow upon you." "Someone bring him in," I ordered. Soon, a filthy man was brought in. The moment he saw me, he began crying and begging. "Spare my life. I really don't know anything, princess. Spare me. I was just a servant at the brothel back then." A girl from the brothel gave me a packet of powder and told me to find a way to slip it into General Fu's wine. She said she had admired the general for a long time and wanted to spend a night with him. Who knew that after I put in the drug and got the job done, I took the silver and was ready to return home, only to find someone had hired an assassin to kill me. I had no choice but to hide. At first, I thought it was the princess's people. After hiding several times, I later found out that the one trying to kill me was the very person who told me to drug him that day. I looked at him. Who exactly was the person who told you to drug him? Can you still recognize them now? He nodded hastily and said, "Although so many years have passed, if I see them, I would definitely recognize them, because when that brothel girl gave me the silver, she had a mole between her eyebrows. I could tell at a glance. Cheongyang had a mole between her eyebrows." I looked at Fu Chengen with a half smile and ordered the servants, "Go invite General Fu's new wife over." Fu Chengen looked confused. When Chuangyang was brought over, the man pointed at her the moment he saw her and shouted, "It is her! It is her! Princess, the one who told me to drug him is her." When the general was drugged with the aphrodisiac, she took the opportunity to offer herself to him and even pretended she was the one who saved the general. Please, give this humble one justice. Princess, this humble one is truly innocent. When Chuangyang saw that person's face, her face turned pale, and she kept backing away. "What nonsense are you spouting? I don't know you at all." The man stood up. "You don't know me. When you bought the drug at Huichun Hall back then, the medicine boy who sold it to you was from my hometown. He still remembers your face too, you venomous woman. You poisoned others yet pretended to be kind, successfully tricked the general into redeeming you, became his mistress, then started hiring killers. A person with a vicious and cruel heart." Fu Chengen felt as if struck by lightning, staring blankly at Chuangyang. "This was a trap you set. Back then, when you gave yourself to me to save me, it was all a lie. I redeemed you, kept you outside all these years, even had children with you, planned everything for you, and what happened? You put on an innocent act and came to harm me. If you hadn't tricked me into having Anner, the princess wouldn't have divorced me. Today I will kill you." That man suddenly laughed. "She gave you a son. You must be mistaken. When she drugged you, she was already 1 month pregnant. That child belongs to one of her clients." Chuangyang pulled out the hairpin from her head and rushed at that person. "Shut up!" But the hairpin was snatched away by Fu Chengen. He looked at that man and asked, "What did you say? Anner isn't my son." That person's face was full of mockery. "Back then I delivered wine to the brothel madam every day. I heard with my own ears the madam telling her to get rid of the bastard in her belly quickly, so it wouldn't affect her work. But she said she would figure something out." Who would have thought her solution was to drag you into it, pretending to cure your poison, claiming she was carrying your child. Actually, she had planned it all along. The child belongs to someone else. If you don't believe me, you can do a blood test. Fu Chengen was furious. "Summon, bring water. I want to do a blood kinship test." Chuangyang shook her head while crying. "Husband, would you rather believe others than believe my words?" Fu Chengen shook off her hand. "If you have nothing to hide, why are you panicking?" Fu Jian shook his head desperately. "Father, I am your son. If you do a blood kinship test and word gets out, how will others see me?" No amount of explanation could help. Clear water was brought before them. 2 drops of blood dripped into the water, and soon the result came out. The 2 drops of blood slowly dispersed in the water, not mixing with each other. Fu Chengen grabbed Chuangyang by the throat. "How dare you deceive me? You slut. I'll kill you." I ate my grapes, watching this farce, then threw all these people out of the princess's residence. This is just a big gift I am giving you for old time's sake. Go home and deal with your family matters yourself. Don't dirty my floor." After Fu Chengen returned to his residence, he drove Qingyang and her son out of the Fu family together. Qingyang had been pampered by him for so many years. How could she bear such hardship? She still had some private savings hidden on her, so the mother and son rented a small courtyard to live in, but with no income they could only try to do laundry for others, earning some copper coins. But Chuangyang had been waited on all these years. Her hands never touched dirty water. How could she bear it? Within half a month she fell ill, and the money flowed out like water, soon completely spent. When Fu Jian came begging at Fu Chengen's door, he found the Fu residence empty, with everyone gone. "Fu Chengen was divorced by me and caused such a farce. How could he have the face to stay in the capital any longer?" He was so overwhelmed with anger that he collapsed. His clansmen saw this wasn't going to work, so they could only sell the run-down house for a few hundred taels. Took the silver, rented a shabby ox cart, and brought him back to their hometown. Before returning home, he had someone deliver a letter. I opened it and found nothing but words of repentance. I tossed it into the stove and watched the opera stage performing A Dream of Nanki, smiling faintly. My whole life seems like this play, and it is time to wake up from the dream.